Olivia, 30 years old, stood in front of the sleek glass windows of her corner office, gazing out at the sprawling skyline of Manhattan. The city, alive with energy, mirrored her own sense of hustle and ambition. As the creative director of one of the most innovative media firms in the industry, Olivia had worked relentlessly to get to where she was today. Success didn't come easy for her, but she had made sacrifices along the way: her personal life, her downtime, and, at times, even her own happiness. In the reflection of the window, she saw the shadow of her office door, and, without needing to look, she knew it was her assistant, Sophie, delivering the latest round of project updates. Olivia turned, giving a polite smile as Sophie handed her a thick folder of materials. But her mind was elsewhere. It had been a year since she'd left Mark, her boyfriend of 4 years, a relationship that had slowly unraveled, undone by his lack of respect for her dedication to her career. She'd always been the one to compromise moving cities for him, making adjustments to her schedule, but in the end, nothing seemed to matter. He had been the one to walk away, citing her obsession with work as the reason. At first, Olivia had been devastated, but after months of sleepless nights and heartache, she realized he was right about one thing. She had always put her work before everything else. She hadn't loved him more than she loved her ambition, and it wasn't until the relationship ended that she understood just how much she had sacrificed for the sake of her success. Olivia's phone buzzed on the desk, snapping her from her thoughts. It was a text from her colleague, Sophia, at a rival firm. "Hey, Olivia, just heard that Alex Richmond is speaking at the panel tonight. You going?" Olivia's breath caught at the name. Alex Richmond, the CEO of one of the fastest growing tech startups in the country. A young, brilliant entrepreneur who had managed to secure multi-billion-dollar deals before even turning 35. He had been featured on the cover of every major business magazine, and his name was practically synonymous with success. Olivia had followed his career from the beginning, secretly admiring his drive, vision, and unwavering focus. He was everything she aspired to be in business, and more. The thought of attending his talk brought a rare sense of excitement to her. She quickly typed a reply, "I'll be there." Later that evening, Olivia entered the prestigious event hall where the panel was being held. It was packed with some of the brightest minds in the industry, and Olivia felt the familiar thrill of being surrounded by so much talent. As she walked through the room, a murmur of conversation filled the air, punctuated by the occasional clink of champagne glasses. The soft glow of the lights above cast a halo effect on the people around her. Everyone seemingly important, successful, and influential. Olivia made her way to the front row, where she had a perfect view of the stage. The moderator began speaking, introducing the panelists. Alex Richmond's name was the last to be announced, and Olivia felt a small flutter in her chest as he took the stage. He was exactly how she had imagined him, confident and dressed in a tailored suit that exuded power. His eyes scanned the room as if the entire space belonged to him, and when he smiled, it was more of a knowing smirk than a friendly gesture. His presence was magnetic, and even though she was seated among dozens of other people, Olivia felt like he was looking directly at her as the conversation began. Alex's voice filled the room, calm, composed, and persuasive. He spoke about his company's vision, the future of technology, and the role ambition played in his success. Olivia couldn't help but admire him from a distance. Everything he said resonated with her. The long hours, the personal sacrifices, the unyielding focus on growth. He embodied everything she wanted to achieve. but it was clear he had paid a price for it. A strange thought crossed her mind. Would I have turned out like him if I'd sacrificed everything for success? Would I have traded it all for ambition, and would I have been happy? After the event, there was a cocktail hour for networking, and Olivia, though slightly reluctant, decided to approach the bar. She had been so caught up in the evening's excitement that she hadn't noticed Alex standing a few feet away, talking to a group of investors. He looked different up close, the same confidence in his demeanor, but now softer, more approachable. As Olivia walked past him, she noticed he wasn't surrounded by anyone. For a moment, their eyes met, and a flicker of recognition passed between them. She wasn't sure if he knew who she was, but she certainly knew who he was. Olivia, right? His voice was warm, surprisingly personal, and he had a friendly smile on his face. Olivia froze, startled by his recognition of her. Yes, you must be Alex Richmond, she replied, her voice steady, though her heart was racing. I've heard a lot about you. Your work has been impressive, Alex said, his gaze sincere but calculating, flustered. Olivia nodded, unsure of what to say next. Thank you, I admire your work too, she said, trying to keep her composure, though she couldn't help but feel out of her element. Alex leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. You know, I'm always looking for the best talent. We should talk sometime about the future of tech. It's good to meet someone with a similar vision. Olivia's pulse quickened. He wants to work with me. She nodded, trying to mask the surprise. Of course. I'd love to. As they exchanged business cards, and the conversation shifted toward potential collaborations, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that this moment was significant. She had just met one of the most powerful figures in her industry, and the interaction was more than just professional. It felt like opening a door she hadn't expected. As she left the event, the cool night air hit her face, but her mind was spinning with the possibilities. Was this just another chance meeting, or was this the beginning of something bigger? The following week passed in a whirlwind of meetings, pitches, and strategic sessions for Olivia. The chaotic pace of her professional life was familiar, comforting even, but there was something different now. The memory of meeting Alex Richmond lingered in the back of her mind. His words, his presence, the quiet but confident way he carried himself. It all left an impression that she couldn't quite shake. It wasn't just the fact that Alex was a successful CEO. It was the way he spoke with purpose. The way he seemed to see through all the noise of the tech industry and focus solely on what mattered. Olivia had always been ambitious, but there was something about Alex that made her feel like she was standing on the edge of something new. Something larger than she had ever imagined. Her phone buzzed one afternoon, interrupting her thoughts as she reviewed the final draft of a new campaign proposal. It was a text from her assistant, Olivia. Alex Richmond would like to meet with you this Friday at 2 p.m. He wants to discuss a potential project. Should I confirm? Olivia paused, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. It had only been a brief conversation at the event, but now he wanted to meet with her again. Something told her this wasn't just a professional networking opportunity. She could already sense the pull, the challenge Alex presented, and she had always been someone who thrived on challenges. Yes, confirm it. I'll be there. Friday arrived faster than she expected. Olivia arrived early, her heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. The office building where Alex's company was headquartered was sleek, modern, and imposing. As she walked into the lobby, she couldn't help but feel a wave of nervousness wash over her. But she quickly brushed it aside. She was here to do business, not to be intimidated. The receptionist greeted her with a warm smile and directed her to the elevator that would take her to the top floor. The doors opened with a soft chime, and Olivia stepped inside, watching the numbers on the display as they climbed higher and higher. When the elevator doors opened, she was greeted by a pristine, open-plan office with panoramic windows offering a breathtaking view of the city. "Ms. Montgomery," a voice called out from across the room. Olivia turned to see Alex, standing near a large conference table. He smiled at her, a warm and welcoming gesture that immediately put her at ease. "Olivia," he said, extending a hand as she approached. "It's good to see you again." She shook his hand firmly. "It's good to see you too, Alex. I must say, this place is incredible." He chuckled, gesturing for her to sit. "Thank you. We're very proud of it. But enough about the office. Let's talk about why I asked you to come here today." Olivia took a seat, the soft leather of the chair molding to her form as she leaned forward slightly. Her curiosity piqued. "I've been following your work closely," Alex continued, pulling out a sleek tablet and tapping it. "You've built something impressive at your firm. Creative, bold campaigns that not only resonate but disrupt the market. I'm interested in exploring how we can work together, bring your team's creative expertise into a project I'm launching." Olivia's mind raced. She had always admired Alex from afar, but now he was here, speaking directly to her, offering an opportunity that she couldn't afford to ignore. This was the kind of project she had only dreamed of, a chance to work alongside a company like his, to collaborate on something groundbreaking. "What kind of project are we talking about?" Olivia asked, her voice steady but her excitement barely contained. Alex smiled, clearly pleased by her interest. "I'm building a new platform for global business expansion. It's going to disrupt the way companies approach international markets. And we need a team that's not just reactive, but proactive, someone who can anticipate trends and innovate ahead of the curve." Olivia felt a surge of excitement. This was the kind of challenge that had always driven her, something that could push her creativity and skills to their limits. She could already see the potential of this collaboration. "That sounds incredible. And you want my team to handle the creative side, the marketing and outreach?" "Exactly," Alex said, leaning back in his chair, his eyes never leaving hers. "But more than that, I want someone who can challenge me, someone who won't just follow orders, but bring new ideas to the table, someone who can think outside the box and push boundaries." Olivia's pulse quickened. He wasn't just offering her a job. He was offering her a partnership, a chance to shape something monumental. This was her chance to prove herself, not just to him, but to herself. She could feel the weight of the decision she was about to make. "How soon do you need an answer?" Olivia asked, her voice cool and measured despite the excitement swirling within her. "Let's take the weekend to think it over," Alex replied. "But I'd like your team involved as soon as possible. This is a fast-moving project, and we're looking to hit the ground running." That evening, as Olivia walked back to her apartment, her mind was buzzing with possibilities. The offer was tempting, yes, but she also knew that this was not just about business. There was something deeper at play. The connection between her and Alex was undeniable. His ambition mirrored hers, and there was a spark between them that had nothing to do with their professional roles. But could she really work with him? Could she risk mixing business and personal feelings? She had worked too hard to get where she was, to let anything or anyone derail her success. Still, a small part of her wondered, what if this was the opportunity that would change everything? not just for her career, but for her personal life as well. The weekend passed in a blur of thoughts and questions. Olivia spent hours reviewing her options, weighing the potential risks and rewards. She knew this was a pivotal moment, one that could define the next chapter of her life, both professionally and personally. On Monday morning, she woke up with clarity. She knew what she had to do. She dialed Alex's number, her fingers trembling slightly as she pressed the call button. "Hello." His voice was warm and familiar. "Alex," she said, her voice steady. "I'm in. Let's do this." The week after Olivia's decision to join Alex's project felt like a whirlwind. She dove headfirst into research, meetings, and brainstorming sessions with her team. This new venture with Alex was everything she had hoped for: challenging, dynamic, and full of potential. The idea of creating a new platform that would change the global market was exhilarating. However, despite the excitement of the project, Olivia couldn't ignore the growing tension she felt every time Alex came into the room. Their chemistry, which had been subtle at first, was undeniable now. It wasn't just the professional connection, they were both driven by ambition, but there was something else, something unspoken, something that lingered in the air when their eyes met, or when their hands brushed across the table during a meeting. Olivia had told herself that she wouldn't let personal feelings interfere with her career, but she couldn't seem to shut out the emotions that were starting to bubble to the surface. One morning, Olivia arrived at the office early to prepare for a strategy meeting with Alex. The quiet of the early hours was always her favorite time to think, before the rest of the office woke up and the noise of the day took over. She spread out her notes, making sure everything was in order before the team arrived. The project was moving fast, and she wanted to ensure that they were ahead of the curve. As she sat there, focused on the task at hand, she heard the door open. Alex stepped into the room, looking just as composed as always. He gave her a quick smile before walking over to the table. "Good morning," he said, his voice casual but with an underlying intensity that Olivia couldn't ignore. "Good morning," she replied, trying to keep her tone neutral. She felt her pulse quicken, but she forced herself to stay calm. This was business. She needed to keep it that way. Alex paused for a moment, watching her as she continued to organize the papers. There was a slight tension in the air, a charged silence that neither of them seemed willing to break. "I've been thinking about the direction we're going in with the platform," Alex said after a beat, his voice soft but serious. "I want us to push the boundaries, not just follow trends. This project can redefine the entire industry if we do it right." Olivia nodded, meeting his gaze. "I agree, but we need to ensure that we're not just innovating for the sake of it. The market is looking for something meaningful, something that will actually improve businesses, not just make them more complex." Alex's eyes flickered with admiration. "Exactly. That's why I chose you for this project. I knew you'd get it." The praise felt good, but Olivia quickly refocused on the task at hand. "We've got a tight timeline. I think we need to refine the user experience before we move into the next phase of development." Alex leaned in slightly, his eyes narrowing as he considered her point. "Right, let's do a deep dive into the user interface. You're leading that part of the team. I trust your instincts." For a moment, Olivia felt a sense of pride. Alex was giving her full control of a critical aspect of the project, and she knew it was a sign of his confidence in her abilities. But the same feeling of pride came with a slight discomfort, one she couldn't quite place. Was it just about the work, Or was there something more lingering in the space between them? As the meeting went on, Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that Alex's attention toward her was different now. It wasn't just professional anymore. She caught him looking at her more often than she expected, his gaze lingering a little too long, his words carrying an unspoken weight. She knew she was feeling the same way, but she couldn't let it distract her. This was a business partnership, and she couldn't afford to let anything else complicate things. When the meeting concluded, Olivia stayed behind to review the notes and make sure everything was in order. As she was about to leave, she heard Alex's voice again. "Olivia," he called, his tone quieter now, more intimate than before. She turned, meeting his gaze. There was something in his eyes, something that made her heart race, but she quickly masked it with a professional smile. "Yes. I think we need to talk," he said, his voice lower than usual. There was no mistaking the seriousness in his expression. Her mind raced. Was this about the project? Or was there something more? "Talk about what?" she asked, her voice steady but with a hint of curiosity. Alex took a step closer, his presence suddenly overwhelming. He didn't speak right away, as if he was choosing his words carefully. "I think you and I both know what's been happening," he said slowly, his gaze locking with hers. "We've been spending a lot of time together, and I can't ignore the tension between us." Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She knew where this was going, but she wasn't ready to confront it. "Not yet. I'm not sure what you mean," she replied, keeping her voice cool, though she could feel the heat rising in her cheeks. She turned slightly, hoping to deflect the conversation. "Olivia," Alex said, stepping forward, "I'm not talking about the project. I'm talking about us." Her pulse quickened as the words hung in the air between them. "Alex, this isn't the time or place," she said, her voice low and firm, but her heart was betraying her. He didn't back away. Instead, he reached out and gently placed his hand on the table next to her. "I know we've been focused on work, and that's been our priority, but I'm not blind to what's happening. The connection between us is real, Olivia, and I don't want to ignore it anymore." Her breath caught in her throat. She had been trying so hard to maintain control, to keep her emotions at bay. But hearing him say it out loud, hearing him acknowledge what they both had been avoiding, was like a floodgate opening. "I don't know what this is, Alex," Olivia said, her voice quieter now. "I don't know if I can let myself feel this way. I've been hurt before, and I've worked so hard to get to where I am now. I can't let my emotions mess with that." Alex's expression softened, and he took a step back, giving her space. "I understand, but I also understand that sometimes we have to take risks, especially when it comes to matters of the heart." Olivia looked down, feeling the weight of his words. She wanted to push him away, to shut down the feelings she knew were starting to form, but deep down, she knew she couldn't avoid it forever. There was a part of her that wanted to take that risk, to step into the unknown and see where it would lead. But another part of her feared it would cost her everything. "I need time, Alex," she said finally, her voice shaking slightly. "I need to think about everything." Alex nodded, a slight smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "Take all the time you need, but I'm not going anywhere." The days after the conversation with Alex weighed heavily on Olivia. Despite her resolve to focus on the project and not let anything cloud her judgment, the thoughts of him seemed to be ever present. They continued to meet, discuss strategies, brainstorm ideas for the platform, and work closely on the creative side of the project. but there was an undeniable tension between them that was impossible to ignore. Every glance, every subtle brush of their hands felt charged with an intensity that neither of them was willing to ignore. Now, in the quiet moments between meetings, Olivia found herself thinking about what Alex had said. The connection between us is real. Was it? Could she truly allow herself to feel this way? After all, she had spent so long building her career, putting everything else aside, and now Alex, this charismatic, powerful man, had come into her life and turned everything upside down. But she couldn't help it. Every time she was around him, she felt a pull. There was something about his confidence, his intelligence, and his quiet vulnerability that made her feel both seen and understood. Yet, a part of her remained guarded, afraid that if she let herself fall into this connection, she would lose everything she had worked for. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day of back-to-back meetings, Olivia was reviewing some final reports in her office when her phone buzzed. She glanced down and saw it was a message from Alex. "Can we talk? It's important." Her heart skipped a beat. The words were simple, but there was something in the tone of the message that made her feel uneasy. She stared at the screen for a moment, wondering what this conversation would bring. The weight of their previous exchange still hung between them, and she couldn't help but wonder if Alex was finally going to push her to make a choice. She sighed, rubbing her temples. She had always prided herself on being in control, on being the one who made the decisions. But now, with Alex in the picture, it felt like her carefully constructed world was beginning to crack. "Where?" she replied, her fingers trembling slightly. "My office. I'll make it quick." When Olivia arrived at Alex's office, the atmosphere was different. The lights were dimmed low, the usual buzzing energy of the building gone for the evening. The city lights outside cast a soft glow through the floor-to-ceilinged windows, but it only served to accentuate the distance between them. As she stepped inside, Alex stood up from his desk, his usual calm demeanor replaced with something more intense. "Olivia," Alex said, his voice steady but with an underlying tension. "I've been thinking about what you said the other day, and I get it. You need time. I respect that, but I'm tired of pretending like nothing is happening between us." Olivia felt her heart race, the words she had been avoiding now out in the open. She crossed her arms, standing tall despite the sudden surge of vulnerability she felt. "Alex, this isn't just about us. I've worked so hard to get where I am. I can't let my emotions, whatever they are, get in the way of everything I've built." "I understand that," he said, his voice softening. "But it's not just about work, Olivia. You know that. I'm not asking you to throw everything away for me. I'm just asking you to be honest with yourself. With me." Olivia took a step back, her mind racing. She had built her career on being calculated, on not letting emotions interfere with her professional life. But here she was, standing in front of the man who had made her question everything she had believed in. "I don't know how to balance this, Alex," she said, her voice shaky. "I've spent so much of my life focused on success and proving myself. I'm afraid that if I let myself fall for you, I'll lose control. I'll lose everything I've worked for." Alex's gaze softened, and for the first time, Olivia saw the vulnerability in his eyes. "You won't lose everything, Olivia. You'll gain something, someone who sees you, who values you, and who wants to help you succeed. Not just in business, but in life. I want to be there for you, not just as your business partner, but as someone who cares about you, about us." The words hit Olivia like a wave, overwhelming her in a way she wasn't prepared for. She had always been so strong, so self-sufficient. The idea of leaning on someone else, especially someone like Alex, felt foreign to her. But there was something in the way he spoke, in the sincerity of his voice, that made her question everything she thought she knew about herself. Alex, Olivia began, but the words caught in her throat. She didn't know how to explain the turmoil inside her. She wanted to be with him, but the fear of losing control, of sacrificing her hard-earned success, was too great. "I'm not asking for you to make a decision right now," Alex said, stepping closer to her, his tone gentle. "I just want you to know that I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." Olivia closed her eyes for a moment, her chest tightening as she fought against the emotions threatening to overwhelm her. She knew he was right. She couldn't keep pretending that there was no connection between them. She couldn't keep pretending that she didn't feel drawn to him, that she didn't want to explore this. "Whatever this was, I don't know what to do," she whispered, her voice barely audible. Alex reached out, his hand gently brushing against hers. "It's okay to not know. We don't have to have all the answers right now. But I need you to be honest with me, Olivia. Just be honest about how you feel." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Olivia felt the weight of his words pressing down on her, and for the first time in what felt like years, she allowed herself to feel something other than control. The walls she had built up around herself were beginning to crack, and for once, she wasn't afraid. "I'm not ready for this, Alex," Olivia said, her voice trembling with emotion. "But I can't keep pretending that I don't feel something for you." Alex nodded slowly, understanding the gravity of her words. "I'll wait for you, Olivia. Whenever you're ready." The next few days felt like a fog to Olivia. Every time she tried to focus on her work, her thoughts kept drifting back to Alex. His words echoed in her mind. "I'll wait for you, Olivia. Whenever you're ready." They were simple words, but the weight of them seemed to follow her everywhere. How could she move forward when part of her was still tied to the past? When part of her still clung to the idea that love and ambition could coexist without one overshadowing the other? She had spent her whole life defining herself by her work. It was what she was good at, what she excelled in, what gave her purpose. But now, as she stood on the precipice of something new, something she wasn't sure she was ready for, she realized just how much she had shut herself off from the possibility of love. Could she really allow herself to embrace something so uncertain? Could she open her heart to someone, especially Alex? She feared it might cost her everything. Olivia's phone buzzed on her desk, pulling her from her thoughts. It was a message from Alex, as expected, given the way they had left things. "Are you free for dinner tonight? I promise it'll be nothing work-related. Just a chance to relax and talk about anything but business." Her heart skipped a beat. Dinner. She hadn't expected it to come so soon. But part of her was eager for the chance to see him outside the office, to get to know him more deeply, away from the stress of deadlines and expectations. But another part of her hesitated, uncertain of what this dinner could mean. She typed her reply quickly. "Sure, 7 p.m. Perfect. See you then." That evening, Olivia found herself standing in front of the restaurant, staring up at the large, elegant building. She had chosen this place, deliberately an upscale, yet intimate spot that would offer privacy while still exuding a sense of sophistication. When she stepped inside, the warm ambience immediately surrounded her. Soft lighting, the hum of quiet conversations, and the faint smell of rich, delicious food filled the air. She scanned the room and spotted Alex near the back, sitting at a table for two. As soon as their eyes met, she felt the familiar stir of excitement and nerves. There was no denying the attraction she felt for him. His presence was magnetic, and despite the tension between them, he always had a way of making her feel seen. "Hey," Olivia greeted, her voice steady but betraying a hint of vulnerability. "Hey," Alex replied, his smile easy and welcoming. He stood up as she approached, pulling out her chair for her before sitting back down across from her. The soft clink of silverware and the low murmur of the restaurant filled the space between them. But it didn't feel uncomfortable. It felt ... natural. "So," Alex began after a moment, his eyes never leaving hers, "how's the project coming along?" Olivia took a deep breath, pushing aside her thoughts. "It's coming along well. We're still refining the user experience, but I'm confident we're on the right track. It's just a matter of staying ahead of the curve." Alex nodded, his gaze intense as he listened. "I know you'll make it work. You've always been able to take on challenges and make them your own." The compliment was simple, but it made Olivia's chest tighten. There was a sincerity in his voice that she hadn't expected. She had been so focused on keeping things professional that she hadn't allowed herself to really appreciate the person sitting across from her. For the first time, she allowed herself to relax, if only for a moment. "Thanks," she said softly, offering a small, genuine smile. "That means a lot." They ordered their food, and the conversation flowed easily, mostly centered around the project and their shared experiences in the industry. But as the evening wore on, the discussion shifted. They spoke about life outside of work, about their childhoods, their travels, and the things that shaped who they were. Olivia found herself laughing more than she had in weeks, her usual guarded self beginning to dissolve under the warmth of the conversation. And then, just as they were finishing their meal, Alex looked at her with a more serious expression. "I've been thinking," he started, pausing for a moment, "about what you said last time. About how you need time. I want you to know that I'm not rushing you. I'm not asking for more than you're ready to give. But I need you to understand something." Olivia raised an eyebrow, intrigued but cautious. "What's that?" "You don't have to choose between love and ambition, Olivia," Alex said, his voice steady but intense. "I understand why you might feel like you do, but you don't have to give up one for the other. You've built something incredible on your own, and I respect that. But you don't have to do it alone. You don't have to sacrifice everything to succeed. And if you let me, I'll be there every step of the way, supporting you whether it's in business or something more." His words hung in the air between them, and for a moment, Olivia didn't know how to respond. She hadn't expected him to say that. She had spent so long telling herself that her career was all that mattered, that she couldn't afford to let anything else distract her. But here was Alex, offering her something more, something she wasn't sure she was ready for. For the first time, Olivia let herself truly consider the possibility of having both a successful career and someone who would stand beside her, not as a hindrance, but as a partner. She didn't have to choose. "I don't know what this is yet, Alex," she said quietly, looking down at her hands, still unsure. "I don't know if I can balance it all, but I know that I'm not willing to let the fear of losing control stop me from seeing where this could go." Alex smiled, the warmth in his expression making Olivia's heart flutter. "That's all I'm asking for, Olivia. A chance, no pressure, no expectations, just a chance to see what we can create together." Olivia took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling over her. She didn't have all the answers, But she was finally ready to take the first step. As they left the restaurant, the cool night air wrapping round them, Olivia felt a shift in her heart. She had spent so long avoiding vulnerability, avoiding letting anyone in. But with Alex, it felt different. Maybe it was the way he respected her ambition, or maybe it was the way he made her feel like she didn't have to choose. But whatever it was, she knew this was a moment she wouldn't take back. For the first time in a long time, Olivia felt the possibility of a future that wasn't just defined by work. A future where love, ambition, and everything in between could coexist. And with Alex, maybe it wasn't as impossible as she once thought. The days that followed their dinner felt like a delicate dance for Olivia. She tried to go about her work as usual, keeping her focus on the upcoming deadlines and managing her team. But Alex's words from the night they shared dinner kept echoing in her mind. You don't have to choose between love and ambition. It sounded too good to be true. Could she really have both? Was it possible to maintain the high standards she had set for herself in her career while allowing space for something so unpredictable, so raw, as a relationship? She wasn't sure, and that uncertainty gnawed at her. One late afternoon, Olivia found herself standing in front of a window in her office, watching the sun dip behind the horizon, casting an orange glow across the skyline. The weight of the decisions she had to make pressed heavily on her chest, making it hard to breathe. She had worked so hard for everything she had achieved. Her career wasn't just a job, to her it was everything. It defined her, filled the gaps left by her past relationships and disappointments. But with Alex in her life, everything felt different. She found herself questioning whether she could continue down the same path she had always taken. Could she have both her career and love? Was Alex someone she could trust not to get in the way of her ambitions? Or would he, too, eventually ask her to choose? The sound of a knock on her door broke her train of thought. "Come in," she called, straightening up and brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Sophie, her assistant, walked in with a gentle smile. "Olivia, there's someone here to see you." Alex Richmond he'd just walked in. Olivia's heart skipped a beat. She wasn't expecting him, but somehow, she wasn't surprised either. She had been waiting for him to make the next move, wondering when he would reach out again. And now, here he was standing on the precipice of something unknown between them. "Send him in," Olivia said, trying to hide the nervous flutter in her stomach. Alex stepped into the room, his usual confident stride, but today, something about his expression seemed different. There was a softness in his eyes, and he looked uncertain, almost like he was waiting for her to tell him what to do next. "Olivia," he said, his voice quiet. "Can we talk?" Olivia nodded, gesturing to the chairs in front of her desk. "Of course. Please, sit down." Alex did, his gaze never leaving hers. He didn't speak right away, and the silence between them stretched on for a moment, heavy with unspoken words. Olivia wasn't sure if she was ready for what he had to say, but she knew this conversation was inevitable. It had been building between them for days, each moment of shared laughter or professional collaboration only adding to the tension. Finally, Alex spoke. "I've been thinking a lot about what you said," he began, his voice low, "about taking things slow, giving you space to figure things out. And I understand that. I do. But I can't help but feel like there's something more between us. Something that we're both avoiding. We're both trying to control it, but it's there, Olivia. And I don't want to pretend anymore." Olivia felt her pulse quicken. She had always been careful to keep her emotions in check, but now, as Alex spoke so openly, Her defenses began to crumble. She could feel the heat in her chest, a mix of excitement and fear. "Alex, I told you I'm not sure I can do this," Olivia replied, her voice steady, though her heart was racing. "I've spent so much time building my career. I've put everything into it. And I'm scared. I'm scared that if I open up to this thing between us, that I'll lose everything I've worked for." Alex's expression softened, his gaze filled with understanding. "Olivia, I get it. I know your career means the world to you. It's one of the things I admire most about you. But I also see the way you've been holding yourself back. You don't have to choose between one or the other. We can figure it out, but you have to let me in. Let me be part of your life, not just your work life. I want to be there for you no matter what." Olivia looked down at her hands, her fingers tapping against the desk. She had always been independent, always put herself first. But now, with Alex offering to be a part of her life, to stand by her, she realized how lonely she had been. She had never allowed herself to truly trust anyone, to let anyone close enough to care. Was she ready to take that risk? "Alex, I don't know if I can do that," she said quietly. "I don't know if I can let you in, especially not after everything that's happened. I've spent so long building walls around myself to protect my career, and now I don't know how to break them down." Alex stood up, walking slowly around her desk until he was standing beside her. His presence was comforting, like a safe harbor in the storm of her thoughts. "You don't have to break all the walls down at once," he said, his voice soft but firm. "You don't have to let me in completely today. But let me in just a little, just enough to show you that I'm not going to push you away, that I'm not going to ask you to choose. We can do this, Olivia, but you have to trust me." Olivia felt a lump form in her throat as she looked up at him. There was no pretending anymore. She couldn't keep running from this. She had to face it, her fears, her doubts, her desires. And for the first time, she wanted to try. She didn't know if it would work, but she couldn't deny the pull she felt toward him. "I'm scared, Alex," Olivia whispered, her voice trembling. "I don't know what to do, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to see where this goes. With you." Alex's face broke into a smile, the warmth in his eyes enough to melt any remaining doubts. "That's all I'm asking for, Olivia. A chance. We'll take it slow, together, one step at a time." The moment felt like a turning point. Olivia knew there were still challenges ahead, still moments of doubt and fear to face. But for the first time in a long while, she felt a sense of relief. She didn't have to choose between her career and love. She could have both if she was willing to trust. The days following Olivia's decision to take a chance on Alex were filled with both excitement and anxiety. The walls she had so carefully built around her heart were beginning to crumble, piece by piece, but the process was far from easy. She had spent years running a tight ship, focusing solely on her career, keeping her emotions at arm's length, and never allowing herself to get too close to anyone. But now, with Alex in her life, things felt different. The work on the project with Alex was progressing at an accelerated pace. Their professional partnership had become more intense, and with each passing day, Olivia found herself relying more and more on him. They had long, late-night brainstorming sessions where their chemistry, both professional and personal, was undeniable. It was clear that they were both driven by the same goal, to create something truly groundbreaking. But as much as Olivia had hoped to keep the lines between work and personal life distinct, the two worlds were starting to blur. One evening, After another late night working together at the office, Alex invited Olivia to dinner. It was supposed to be a casual affair, a chance to unwind and talk about anything but work. But as soon as they sat down at the table, the atmosphere between them shifted. Olivia could feel the tension in the air, the subtle energy that buzzed between them whenever they were alone. "Olivia," Alex said, his voice low and serious as they sat down. "I know we've been working together closely, and I know things between us are complicated, but there's something I need to tell you." Olivia looked up at him, her stomach flipping nervously. She had been dreading this moment, the moment when Alex would push for more. They had both agreed to take things slow, but the closer they got, the more difficult it became to keep their emotions in check. "What is it?" Olivia asked, trying to keep her voice steady, but she couldn't help the way her heart raced. "I've been offered a big promotion," Alex said, pausing for a moment to let the words settle. "I've been asked to take the company global, to expand our operations into Europe, Asia, everywhere. It's a huge opportunity for me and for the company." Olivia's eyes widened. She had always known Alex was ambitious, but this was a game changer. A promotion of that magnitude meant a whole new level of responsibility. It meant more hours, more pressure, more time spent away from home and from her. It meant that whatever they were building together, both professionally and personally, would inevitably change. "That's amazing," Olivia said, forcing a smile. "You've worked so hard for this." "You deserve it," Alex nodded, but there was a cloud of uncertainty in his eyes. "There's just one problem." Olivia raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "I don't know if I can have this promotion and still be the kind of partner I want to be for you," Alex admitted, his voice tinged with frustration. "This opportunity would mean I'd be traveling constantly, working around the clock. I don't want to let this relationship fall apart because I've chosen work over us." The words hit Olivia like a ton of bricks. It was the same dilemma she had been facing for months. Could she balance her ambition and her desire for a relationship? Could Alex? She swallowed, feeling the weight of the decision hanging over her. "Alex, you can't stop living your life for me. You've worked so hard to get here, but I also don't want to be the one who keeps you from achieving your goals." He leaned forward, his gaze intense. "It's not about stopping. It's about finding a balance. And right now, I don't know how to do that. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose you." For a moment, Olivia sat in silence, her thoughts swirling. The realization hit her hard. Both she and Alex were at a crossroads. If they wanted to build something together, they would both have to make sacrifices. It wasn't just about work anymore. It was about their futures, individually and together. "I'm scared too, Alex," Olivia admitted, her voice soft. "I've spent so many years focusing on my career that I don't know what it means to give part of myself to someone else. I have been afraid of losing control. But I also don't want to look back and regret not giving this a chance." Alex reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. The warmth of his touch was a quiet reassurance, a reminder that this wasn't just about business. It was about them. "I'm not asking you to give everything up for me, Olivia," Alex said softly. "I'm asking you to trust that we can make this work, even when life throws challenges our way. We can both achieve our dreams, but we have to find a way to support each other, not just in business, but in life. It's about partnership." Over the next few weeks, things between Olivia and Alex were anything but easy. The project they were working on continued to demand their attention. and Alex's promotion loomed closer, requiring him to make decisions about how to balance his new role with his commitment to Olivia. They both faced the harsh reality that to move forward, they had to give something up, whether it was time, control, or their own independence, despite their growing connection. Olivia couldn't ignore the part of her that was still hesitant. She had worked so hard to create a life for herself, and letting someone in meant giving up a portion of that control. She didn't want to lose herself in this relationship, but she also didn't want to push Alex away. One evening, after a particularly tense meeting, Olivia found herself sitting alone in her office, looking over the final presentation for the upcoming launch. She couldn't shake the feeling that something had to give. She couldn't keep living in two worlds, one of success and ambition, and the other of vulnerability and love. Just as she was about to leave for the night, Alex walked into her office. He didn't say anything at first, just stood there, watching her as she packed up her things. "You know, we can figure this out, right?" he said quietly. Olivia looked up at him, surprised by the softness in his tone. "I don't know, Alex. I want to believe we can, but it feels like something's always in the way." Alex stepped closer, his voice firm but gentle. "I don't want you to feel like you have to choose, but I need you to know that I'm in this with you. Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together. But I need you to trust me, Olivia. And maybe, just maybe, we can both have what we want: sex, love, everything." The days after the conversation about Alex's promotion were filled with tension and uncertainty. Both Olivia and Alex knew that something had to change if they were going to make this work. Alex's promotion was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but it came with the weight of increased responsibility and time commitments. Olivia, on the other hand, had spent so many years building her career that letting someone in, even Alex, felt like a risk she wasn't sure she was ready to take. But as the days passed, Olivia realized something. The more time she spent with Alex, the more she understood that life wasn't just about achieving success. It wasn't about crossing off every goal or climbing the corporate ladder. It was about balance, about finding joy in the moments outside of work, about being seen and heard by someone who truly understood her. Alex made her feel like she didn't have to sacrifice everything for her ambition, like she could have it all: her career, her independence, and someone who supported her. One chilly evening, Olivia found herself in her apartment, staring out the window as the city lights twinkled below. Her phone buzzed on the counter, and she glanced over to see a text from Alex. It was simple, just 3 words: "Can we talk?" Her heart skipped a beat. She had been expecting this. After everything they had been through, the discussions about work, the struggle with their feelings, it was clear they needed to talk about what this meant, about what they meant. She typed back quickly, "Of course, when I'll be at your place in 30." 30 minutes later, there was a knock at the door. Olivia opened it to find Alex standing in the hallway, his expression unreadable. He looked every bit the CEO. He was powerful, confident, but there was something different about him tonight. Something softer. "Hey," Olivia said, trying to mask the nervous flutter in her chest. "Come in." Alex stepped inside, his usual confident stride softened by the quiet, intimate setting of her apartment. There was no rushing tonight, no hustle and bustle of the office. This was just them. "I've been thinking," Alex said as he sat on the couch, his hands resting on his knees, "about what you said, about balancing everything." Olivia sat across from him, watching him closely, and he met her eyes, his gaze intense. "I don't want to keep talking about what we can't do. I want to talk about what we can do. We're both ambitious, we're both driven, and we're both going to face challenges. But I don't want to face them alone. And I don't want you to face them alone, either. Olivia's heart ached at his words. She had been so focused on protecting herself, on controlling every aspect of her life, that she hadn't allowed herself to imagine a future with Alex. But now, as she sat across from him, listening to him speak so sincerely, she realized how much she had been longing for this. For someone who believed in her, someone who was willing to take the leap with her. I'm scared, Alex, Olivia admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Scared that I'll lose myself, that I'll lose my career, that I'll let you in and things will fall apart. Alex leaned forward, his voice steady but full of emotion. I'm scared too. I'm scared that I'll fail you, that I'll lose myself in the chaos of everything. But I also know that if we don't take a chance on this, we'll always wonder what could have been. You don't have to choose between us and your career. We can make it work. I believe in us. Olivia's chest tightened as she listened to him. His words resonated deeply with her. She had been so afraid of giving up control, so afraid of failing again. But maybe, just maybe, she didn't have to do it all alone. Taking a deep breath, Olivia made a decision. Okay, she said, her voice steady. I'll take the leap with you, Alex. But it's not going to be easy. We'll have to work at it. Every day. And we can't let anything get in the way of what we're building. Alex's face softened into a smile, and in that moment, Olivia saw the sincerity in his eyes, the kind of sincerity she had been longing for. We'll do this together, he said, reaching out and gently taking her hand in his. I'll be here every step of the way. We'll figure it out. Olivia looked down at their intertwined hands, the weight of everything they had been through settling over her. This wasn't a perfect solution. It wasn't going to be easy. But for the first time, she felt like she was ready to try, to trust, to let someone in. The next few weeks were a blur of adjustments. Olivia and Alex continued to work closely together on their project, their professional relationship stronger than ever. But they also made time for each other, real, meaningful time. Late-night walks in the city, quiet dinners, and candid conversations about their hopes, fears, and everything in between. Olivia found herself slowly letting go of the walls she had spent so long building round herself. She didn't have to choose between love and ambition. She didn't have to sacrifice one for the other. With Alex, she realized that the two could coexist if she was willing to trust in both. One evening, as they sat together on the balcony of Olivia's apartment, watching the city lights twinkle below them, Alex turned to her with a smile. I'm glad we did this, he said softly. Taking the leap, Olivia smiled back, her heart full. Me too. It's not perfect, but it's real. And that's enough for me. Alex leaned in, pressing a soft kiss to her forehead. It's more than enough. And in that moment, Olivia knew she had made the right choice. The future wasn't guaranteed, but with Alex by her side, it felt like anything was possible. They had taken a risk, yes, but sometimes the greatest rewards came from the greatest risks.